proud of this, but I've been drinking these longer than White Claws. I've talked a lot of about them, but damn, they kind of are nice. By the time I drink 15 beers, I'm so burpy and farty, I might need a spit up. Not a full puke, but a little. I drink liquor the same way I drink beer, and that's fast. Then the only nerve up around here having fun is me and maybe a cop that gets a chance to kick my ass. He's got his taser out as soon as he shows up. Can't say I blame him. All he's heard is that there's a belligerent drunk 6'2" Sasquatch running around, and he is unpredictable at best. There ain't no brakes on this train. Them old claws, yeah, they taste about like you're making out with a cat that has a piece of fruit in its mouth. But I can put 12 of them down in a pretty reasonable amount of time. Make me a good piss. It's on to the next case. Biggest problem I see with them, though, is the price point. It's a little ridiculous to price a product that high in such economic times. It's arguably the hardest it has ever been out here for a pimp. Now, one damn case of claws costs you about $20. There ain't no way there's $20 worth of shit in that box.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Ramen Wukong. This is the monthly wrap-up for the month of September 2025. And before we get into the questions and answers of the dead letters of the week, I do have two particular announcements. Pardon me. Sorry, I've had this persistent cough for a couple of days. Anyway, first announcement. The Trade Ogre story has unfolded a bit more, as TRM Labs has claimed complacency to the seizure of Trade Ogre's sites and assets, most of which will not be recoverable by users, citing refusal of KYC compliance and global financial standards by the RCMP as the reason for the seizure and raid. It does bring to light several issues, of which many of us are aware of, but for those of you new to the industry, probably should be aware of as well. Trade Ogre staff was obnoxiously difficult to get a hold of, even from the customer side. So in that regard, I kind of side with RCMP, because there have been times where I contacted them and, a month went by before they got back to me. RCMP had allegedly given them repeated communications to show compliance with regulatory laws, of which none of them were ever responded to, or they were blown off. RCMP's official standpoint on this matter is that everyone that used that exchange is a criminal, or at least complicit of criminal activity regardless of intent. This is one of the primary reasons for why people will always say this should be about a lesson about not keeping all of your eggs on an exchange. Meaning that, hey, look, sometimes you want to trade out your coins for other coins, your local fiat. That's all well and good. But never keep on an exchange what you're willing to lose, because exchanges bear the brunt of being complicit with local laws. And in the case of Trade Ogre, they clearly said, fuck you to that. Thus, everybody's funds, you're not getting them back, more or less. On that note, RCMP, I would like my $20 in Litecoin back. Thank you for your time. All right, second announcement. Oh, this one pains me. This one hurts a lot. Zerg Pool will be removed from our website following the podcast or the broadcast today, as they officially begin to wind down their payments and operations for their systems, as PinPin is set to retire at the end of this month in just a couple of days. Godspeed, man. And may you find enjoyment knowing that you are, were, and always will be a huge part of the cryptocurrency history, being probably many or most miners' first pool that they ever used. I hope retirement treats you well, and I hope in the future you can come back in some kind of capacity, because you will, in fact, be missed. You already are missed, my friend. On that note, all Bitoreum miners should move over to one of our approved pools. Bowser Labs is a good one. PMP Mining is another good one. Z-Pool, obviously. Shout out to y'all. Love y'all. Effective immediately to continue uninterrupted mining rewards. As of now, I believe Sunday is the last day that rewards will be paid out for any coin on Zerg Pool, so do move all of your stuff over today. Okay, that ends the two announcements. Now we can get into a little bit more fun. I have selected 10 questions that I have been asked over the last couple of weeks or so, and I think these are kind of the best. Some of these might be a repeat, but it's fine because of the sources on them. Some people just don't follow us over on Discord, where I probably answer these a shitload of times. So, question number one comes from Twitter. Is this project a scam? Wasn't the original Bitoreum from like Russia or something? Kind of. Marius, I believe, was Russian. But at the time I knew him, he was living in Ukraine, very close to where the initial conflict for the Ukraine Russia conflict went on. He was a buddy of mine, and then he just went radio silent one day. There have been many speculations on what happened to him. He could have just walked away. He could have been carried away. We don't know. The point is that after a couple of years, I gave it enough time. I talked to some maybe people, and they said, "Well, maybe you should take up the reins. You have the skill set for it, and you kind of have the connections to make it possibly work. Why not give it a go?" And that's effectively what happened. This is not a scam. This is just a continuation on the original project. I tried to keep as much of the code base as the same, barring any improvements and fixes to the code that I had to do along the way. As many of you know, a lot of that relates to the masternode smart node system and just general bug fixes to make it more compliant with modern operating systems. Still working on Debian 13. Get off my nutsack. Question number two. What do you think about all the recent exchanges going offline, and how does this affect the Bitoreum project going forward? That is a really good question. As many of you know, we have lost Exex, Trade Ogre, very obviously, um, Fine Xbox, which I could give exactly zero shits about. Their withdrawal fees were insane to the average user. There was another one that we lost. I can't even remember them all. We basically lost four exchanges that we Bitoreum was effectively traded on, and now we are just on XBitRun. I am working on that fix. Unfortunately, the next exchange I do want to be compliant with CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, so that way we can get relisted back on CoinGecko. They have been very amenable to that, and they understand what happened, and they, very sympathetic to our cause, and the documentation for our project is very good enough that basically the only thing is required of us to get listed on their site again is having an exchange that they work with. And at present, that's about $3,500 in USDT to an exchange. I think that's the lowest price out there that I was quoted. If any of you out there know of a better deal, by all means, I'm all ears, but that probably won't be dealt with until quarter one or quarter two of 2026, as my company is funding all of this, and we're in the end of the year where money is basically all tied up in operations to last us out for the end of the year. And as many of you know, since I'm an American-based business, and some of what we do is for international trade, based on recent developments, we're hit as hard as we can, and unless we want to do some kind of fundraiser, something like that, to get the money like ASAP, it's probably going to have to wait until quarter one or quarter two of next year. I'm looking at one exchange there, and then some smaller exchanges following that, just so we have multiple exchanges. My primary thing is minimal KYC. Do want to be compliant, but minimal KYC, super non-invasive, that kind of things. But obviously, big complicity with CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, so that way we can get back there. More explanation on that in the future. Third Twitter question. Why the fuck does it take forever to respond on Twitter? Because I fucking hate the app. I've always hated the app. During COVID, like the amount of alt-right and just not fun shit posting, just obnoxious shit posting took place that I basically swore off Twitter. And the only reason why I rejoined, to be perfectly honest, was Trade Ogre. And in hindsight, that was a good idea because CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko also use Twitter for their verification and validation processes, which is nice to have, but I don't use it as a social media platform in the way that I use Blue Sky, Discord, GitHub, and others. Oh, YouTube as well. I don't really like Twitter. I don't like what that format has become. I don't like what the platform has become. I try to use it as little as possible to the point that it's not even installed on my phone anymore. So when a notification does come up, I'm sitting at the computer that we're broadcasting from right now. It's the only computer I use Twitter from, period. So I do periodically screen share into this computer to kind of look at that, but I'm not super big on it. I basically check into about it maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, to see if anybody's doing the get down promotion, which so far none of you have. More on that later. So the reality is, people do get a hold of me on Twitter, but the vast majority of it is it scams or porn bots trying to elicit money out of me because I am associated with a cryptocurrency, or Twitter itself being like, you should get verified. Twitter, I'm going to say this as nicely as I fucking can. Get fucked. I'm not paying for verification. I'm not paying for validation. If you want to give me a blue fucking check like the old school wave, you had to do it by amassing a following, which I know I don't have there. Sure, I'll go along with that. But if you want money from me, I'll tell you this much. You can kiss both sides of my ass. And that's going to take you all day, if not all week. Fuck off. All right. As for the users, I love y'all. I do try to keep in communication with you. I just hate the platform. Sorry. Uh, get on Blue Sky. I know many of you don't like it. Or get on Discord. That is honestly where I am normally the most active. Okay. Question number 4 from Twitter. This kind of leads into that one. Why have you been less active online lately in general? Okay. Uh, because of the economic situation, I have recently, like in the last couple of months, picked up a new job. So this makes job number 6 or 7 as a medical specimen courier, inclusive of body parts and bloodborne pathogen biohazards. Now, I know that may sound scary. But basically, what it means is I transport blood for transfusion kits from the American Red Cross, which is the primary distribution point of that, to other hospitals. Not normally hospitals in my own city either. I could travel 3, 4, or the job that I almost got yesterday would have been 600 miles to deliver blood by way of the Red Cross in emergency situations. That's like 90% of what I do. The body parts is sometimes in theory that could be, I think lung transfusions are what they do, heart, brains on the schedule. I've never seen one come up, and I'm pretty sure the payout on that would be enough for me to do one of those in a month and then retire for the rest of the month. But anyway, that's why I've been less online lately. That, and I've been kind of busy with some background stuff. More on that probably next week as we do the monthly announcements, the new monthly announcements for Bitoreum specifically. All right, next question comes from Blue Sky. Why do you always pop up on Mark Hamill's feed? That is a damn good question. Um, I interact with him a lot because why the fuck not? He was the voice of Joker for the Batman animated series in the 90s, and as many of you may have guessed or known, I am an 80s baby, 90s kid. So he was definitely a huge part of my childhood right after school, as I don't think that anybody from the 90s didn't watch Batman the animated series. And he was the Joker on that. So much so that I think he played Joker in much later video games. Unfortunately, as I got older and those games came out, I didn't really get a chance to play them, which sucks because I've seen clips and they do look kind of fucking cool, even if they are a little bit dated by today's standards. So that's why I typically pop up. Plus, he's funny as shit. He ribs on politicians and American politics, and as many of you know, I am an American. It affects me greatly in my business, and that's why I have to have 6 or 7 jobs so that I can fund this project and what my companies actually do. It's good times. Why do you not build more of a platform on Blue Sky? This is also a question from Blue Sky, sorry. That's a good question, and it's more towards I just don't really build a social media platform at all. Like, I talk a lot of shit on Discord. That's where I'm, once again, most active. But I'm always 50-50 on social media. Look, I understand its relevance into modern day society and cultural isms, but there are a lot of I've gotten to that age where I really just want to like buy 40 acres in the middle of fucking nowhere and tell people to get the fuck off my land and buy a shotgun and shoot at them. Like, it's a joke, but I mean, you just get to a certain age and like people's bullshit frustrates you more than it benefits you. I like organic growth, and that takes time. Obviously, I probably should hire a social media manager, and I'm looking into what that might cost and adding into next year's budgetary concerns. Um, Share, like, subscribe. That would be another good guess on why I don't, because you don't normally see these videos pop up on Blue Sky, because I'm really bad about sharing them there, and I probably should get better about that. So that's a pretty good question, actually. This one comes from Discord now. What are your goals for this project? You seem to be very, very quiet on them. I'm not really. I think what happens is that because of the my Discord server is about 50% me talking shit and 50% me actually being helpful, and it really depends on the channel that you're following. And sometimes I answer serious questions in a not serious channel, and I think they get buried very often or very quickly. Um, my goals were to keep Bitoreum alive, and originally that meant rebuilding the Explorer, rebuilding the website, being active with exchanges, being active with the pool founders, which some of you may have known. Smart Node operator need to donate. Damn no. Yeah. Well, okay. So there is a question that comes from Todd by way of YouTube. All miners and smart node operators need to donate $10. We only need 350 people, and I'm on board. Thank you for that. I don't disagree. There's actually not that many smart nodes, as you may notice. If you go into the smart node tabs and just type in all caps enabled, there's only 69 smart nodes. Now, yes, there are a lot of miners, but I think what a lot of those miners are, primarily from Zergpool and Zpool, is they don't actually mine directly Bitoreum. Zpool and Zergpool allow for transactional mining, is what I like to call it, or exchange mining, where you actually just point your miner at an algorithm, and then if you want to get paid in Bitoreum, you can, but you can get paid in another coin, and I think a lot of that winds up happening. I don't disagree, and I've thought about a donation system. I have thought about another project. I have an idea for what to do about that. I've thought about doing a donation project. I've looked at a couple platforms, and I think what the better solution would be is just to create a USDT address and just have people directly deposit there. So that way, like what I do with the developer's wallet, we can transparently say, okay, I have raised this much money, or we have raised this much money to get towards this project goal. But yeah, that is a good idea. I love it. Thank you so very much for the suggestion. It's a complicated issue. And like I said, a lot of that has to do with because I'm personally funding this out of my company, and as a normal company, I have to deal with quarterly estimates, quarterly profits, and unfortunately, because of politics, shit's not good. We're able to stay afloat and we're able to pay the bills, but big exchange or big costs like that, like $3,500, that's not something I can just crack open my wallet. Like, unfortunately, that's the kind of money I got to keep in reserve, because what happens if my transmission blows? Shitty as it is, but like I said, since I'm a courier now, I need to keep funds in for that, and that's personal funds anyway. I think the business has about $1,000 for all operational expenses for the rest of this year. That doesn't take into effect things that we sell to offset that, because I think we're up to about $600 a month in resale, which is good because we weren't projected for 400 because of the tariffs and whatnot, because we basically don't ship internationally anymore, and that did make up a huge portion of our business. But we're good, but we're not great. But yeah, I agree. Um, some kind of effort needs to be done with there, and I think I'm going to be a little bit more active on discussing that on the Discord server in the coming weeks, because that has been weighing heavily on my mind. Um, so another big goal that I really, really did want for this project was to build out the project. And there are two very clear and distinct goals for the next steps, and they're massive. One is that the current state of Bitoreum was built using C++ version 14. I want to support version 17, so that way I can still support the older GCC applications until such a time that I can get rid of that and move to a newer GCC. So that's a big one, is basically, excuse me, upgrading 3 versions of C++, which basically means refactoring so much of the code. It's going to be a huge undertaking. And on that note, the reason for that is to get rid of the boost system. Because if I can get rid of the boost system, then making native Apple ARM silicone, that's going to be a lot easier to do without relying on boost. Boost is a temperamental bitch. Works great on Linux, really does. Works great for Windows cross-compiling, but for Apple ARM cross-compiling, the version of Boost that we're using came out way before Apple Silicon was introduced, and there are some trickiness in there. Basically, the easiest way is to upgrade the Boost system, but if we do that, then I have to rewrite all the hooks to make sure that Boost works great for the code that we have now. So I think the better way to deal with that was just to remove the Boost system entirely. In order to do that, upgrade the C++. So that was a pretty big one. And then more of a longer term goal than that, but still one that I really need to take into consideration is moving Bitoreum further away from Raptorium. And the next step to do that is right now we are pinned to a version of Raptorium that was pinned to a version of Dash that was version 17. I want to move away from that into version 18 and then fully start moving away from Raptorium's code, making Bitoreum really its own thing. Yes, we were birthed from Raptorium. That caused a lot of drama in the past that I'm just not interested in continuing and pursuing. I've done great strides to remove all of the assets from Raptorium and give credit back in the code where it was stripped out for God knows what reason, or in some cases might not even been there, because the version of Raptorium that Marius forked this from, I think, was a very early version. So even when I looked back on some of Piggy's code, Piggy didn't even credit his own developers in some of that early code. And so we've made great strides to go back in there and say, if this was a Raptorium specific thing, we give you guys credit, but we've removed your assets, meaning images mostly, so that way we are not reusing your assets and we are on a standalone asset. That took a fair amount of work to find all that shit, to be perfectly honest. Question number 8 from Discord. I know that was a very long-winded answer, but that kind of really is, I mean, I'm even broad stroking it on that one, to be perfectly honest. Question number 8 from Discord. Why are you on Yerbus's Discord all the time? Oh, Yerbman's a really good friend of mine. And when Bitoreum started faltering, I was looking for new projects to invest in because at the time I was equal parts miner and cryptocurrency investor, of which that has taken kind of a backseat. Both of those things, actually. But I found the Yerbus community, and they were great shit talkers, and I immediately moved over there, and me and Yerbman have become friends over the years, and so I'm active over on his project, even a lot of times when he can't be, because he has more of a real life that he has to take part in where I don't always. But yeah, that's why you can catch me over there. And a lot of times I forget I'm on his Discord, and I'll start talking shit like I'm on my Discord, and then I get in trouble of that. So yeah, that's a big reason why I'm over on there. But that's pretty much like the two biggest Discords that I'm on is obviously Crystal Bitoreum, and Yerbus. And yes, I am still kind of active on the Bitoreum one, although there's very little movement over there. I kind of cursorily keep abreast of what's going on over there, but effectively version 4.1.0.0 killed old Bitoreum's code. You could still use it, but you'd have to find other Bitoreum nodes that are running, and there aren't that many because the smart nodes got basically kicked offline with the collateral updates. So I monitor it, but nothing really goes on over there except porn bots, NSF 18 plus models. Click here today to get in the Discord server. Pay us $1.99. All that dumb shit. And I don't have the ability to block those. Kick timeout is all I really have to do. But if there's questions asked over there, I'll answer them. But for the most part, I just kind of monitor it and ignore it. Next question. This one actually came up from Discord and Twitter, but I just tied it into the Discord one. Wait, you give away Bitoreum? Yes, we do. At the end of this broadcast, we were doing a Bitoreum Get Down giveaway bonus. I'm going to be modifying that after October, meaning that we will give away one for September today. We'll be giving away one for the month of October, and then at that point in time, we will no longer be doing the Get Down bonus because it's just not drumming up the social media interest that I thought it would, and we are going to be moving that into a new promotion. That promotion will be talked about next week as we go over the monthly updates, but do know that we are still giving one out today, next month, and then after that, no more. But yeah, I give away Bitoreum all the time, even without those promos. Sometimes I even give away Bitoreum. It has been noticed where it's like, oh, I'm like 50K short of a smart node. All right, cool. Here's your 50K. Go get your smart node up and operational. I'm not giving you the 2 million for a smart node, but you're a little bit off. Yeah, fuck it. Why not? I can help you out. And finally, question number 10. This also comes from Discord. Can you help me with my Project X? Probably not. No disrespect meant by this. I am extremely busy. I have 2 full-time jobs. I work with this project. I do software development, and then all of those things kind of lead into the 4 to 5 other part-time jobs that I have. I have very little free time to the detriment of yard work that needs to get done on my house before the rains come in. Because as many of you know, I live in the Pacific Northwest where it rains all the fucking time. And it's one thing to be chopping up logs when it's, nice out, sunny, dry. But when it's pissing rain sideways, that shit sucks. So no. I mean, I might be able, like, if you have a very specific question, like you can say, oh, my code is broken and here's the line. Can you take a look at it? Maybe. Depends on the language. I've been teaching myself C++ and C as we go along, so I'm not super proficient. I can always read it, but it was not my primary language getting into this project. I'm not like a master coder or anything. I can do it. I'm a man with a keyboard, as it was told to me. I'm a man with a keyboard and a fucking dream. I'm not a master coder. I know people that are way better at this stuff than I am, but due to threats of death, I am not allowed to tell anybody who those people are. Plus, they're good friends of mine, and I don't want to put them on blast like that, as they have repeatedly said not to. But in general, me personally, probably not. Money's an issue, right? If you want to hire me as a full-time job, yeah, sure. I'm probably sure that I have more than enough time for that, but it costs money to hire me. On average, my time is worth about $73 an hour. That's on average. That's not even specifically for like coding, which takes forever anyway. That's probably closer to $130, $160 an hour, depending on exactly what you want. So it costs a lot of money, basically. And that's why I probably won't be able to help you. Quick question. Okay, this one particular piece of code is broken and I can take a look at it. Or in some instances, if I have the time, I have looked at other, like, YAML. YAML I fucking hate. I honestly would much rather just pay the ChatGPT subscription and give it YAML code and be like, format this bitch for me, because YAML is like Python and incredibly fucking bitchy about the indentation. But in general, no, probably not. All right. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. We have one winner because, once again, nobody really participated in the Get Down promo bonus this month. So, this month's winner comes from the Discord server that I selected not at random. Tika. Tika is the winner of our 2 million Bitoreum grand prize. For all of those wishing to get involved, you can go over to bitoreum.cc/promotion. Promotions? Good question. It's promotion. Should have that up, but I don't. No, I'm sorry. Bitoreum.cc/promo. That'll get you the information on that. Obviously, we did it for this one. I can either give a 1 million Bitoreum in instances where I want multiple winners, or I can pick one big one. All you have to do to really get involved with that is on any social media platform, Twitter, GitHub, YouTube, on anywhere on our channels, Bitoreum, hashtag Bitoreum, hashtag GetDown, and I look for those tags and then I decide if I like your content whether or not to give it to you. And obviously, if you're not on Discord, I track down your social media account that you made it from, and I message you directly saying, "Hey, give me your Discord address, and I will send you Bitoreum." Uh, it will generally always be from Ramen Wukong or Nunya Business. Those are both my usernames, and sometimes I'm stuck using the Nunya Business. So that's how that works. So there will be one more contest where $2 million Bitorium is on the line. Go ahead and get it. All right. I will see you all next week as we do the monthly announcements specific to Bitorium. Have a great rest of your day, folks.